Hello, my name is Stephen Busser, and me and my group are presenting on the effects of human activity on wildlife activity by species in Wildwood Park.
I'm Stephen Repass.
Hi, I'm Ambrose.
I'm John McKenney.
So just generally speaking, we are looking at how the levels of human activity will affect those animal activities depending on the species and the area.
The purpose of this study is to look at the changes in wildlife activity in Wildwood Park in response to the levels of human activity around the park. The benefit for this study is that through further study of this through the study of the assessment of wildlife behavior in Wildwood Park, we can better assess the response of wildlife behavior to human behavior activity. A little bit of background. Wildlife cameras have an extensive history in ecological research for their ability to record the numbers and activities of wildlife non-invasively and are beneficial for capturing native species of wildlife without interfering with their activities. Wildwood Park is a recreation and wildlife park in Radford, Virginia, home to a number of indigenous flora and fauna, making it an ideal location for the placement of wildlife cameras.
Rather simply put, our hypothesis was that as the level of human activity in a given area increased, the level of animal activity would inversely decrease. We also have hypothesized there might be sort of a plateau level, like just at a certain point, human activity will just no matter how high it gets after that point, the animal activity will more or less stay constant proportionally.
We placed a series of cameras, about 15 cameras, throughout Wildwood Park in a variety of locations and habitats, like on trails in the park that are for human use and trails that are for wildlife, like wildlife trails. And we place them closer to people and farther away from people. There's a neighborhood that's close and in different places throughout the park. We place them at knee height on trees, like in this picture here where my teammate John is placing this trail camera. After 34 days of the cameras taking the pictures, we retrieved them, and we as a group went through all of the photos and analyzed which ones had which animals and put it in an Excel spreadsheet. In the bottom right of this picture here, you can see the different locations and the trail types of the locations of our cameras. And this is a map of where we put all the cameras. As you can see, 37, 36, and 210 are placed closer to this neighborhood over here, while 208, 6, 70, and 57 are higher up above and on the tower trail. 204 is on the tower trail, and these down here are farther away from all of the human activity, and they are south of the trail.
This graph shows the total wildlife and total humans recorded by each of the 15 cameras, ordered from left to right by the number of humans recorded at each location. The data collected suggests that animal activity is generally unaffected by human activity. This differed from our hypothesis, which was that human activity would have a noticeable impact on animal activity. Camera 3 is a notable outlier, most likely due to the fact that it was placed on a wildlife trail, whereas all the others were placed on human walking trails. While we found patterns of species preferring specific biome types and other factors, we couldn't find any significant data that suggested any species particularly avoided humans. Deer were our most commonly observed species and were observed most often across nearly all camera locations. Eastern gray squirrels were our second most observed, but were only observed really in a few locations. And northern raccoons were our third most observed, showing up occasionally across all locations. This is the data grouped by the habitat the camera was placed in, and once again ordered from least to most human activity. The graph on the left shows total activity of both groups, while the graph on the right shows the ratio of activity between the two groups. The reason we've broken the data down this way is because it becomes much easier to see that we did observe a slight correlation. However, given the amount of data we collected, we don't believe this trend is significant enough to confirm our hypothesis.
Ultimately, our hypothesis about the inverse relationship between human activity and animal activity seems to have been disproven, at least based upon the limited amount of data we actually were able to get from Wildwood Park. Quite possibly, if one wanted to look at this on a much larger scale across several parks across all of the US or even the known world, there could definitely be some correlation there. Based on our findings, though, there is not one, at least in Wildwood Park. And we are open to any questions after the lecture. Please post them. Thank you. Have a good day.